Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you how blessed it is not to just have an amazing entrepreneur, vocal coach to the celebrities, but to have her on the God and Gigs show twice. This is her
Yes.
second appearance. So, Ashaala, my friend, my sister, and amazing celebrity vocal coach, welcome back to the God and Gigs show. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited, Alan, to just be back here again. I feel like family, and and last time we had an amazing time with our interview. So I'm looking forward to the conversation again.
Well, first of all, that's the key right there. Again, if they have not listened to episode 87, I am not pitching it. I am telling you, this is really required listening. I'm going to tell you straight up, and I'm going to be much more candor. Because if they want to get the 101, they can go back to this episode. Here's why I'm
Yeah.
saying it like this. After you shared that episode, episode 87, godandgigs.com/187, I put that as the essentials. I have two categories in God and Gigs where there's the essentials for the musicians and the essentials for creatives. So your podcast is part of the essentials list where if you go there, it's one of the first two or three I want them to, because if they get what you shared in that episode, they'll understand everything else that we're sharing. And that's why, I'm so blessed to talk to you because you epitomize everything that we're trying to do at God and Gigs, and you're doing it at such a high level. So yeah, that's I'm not just blowing smoke, not just trying to pump you up. That is literally what you mean to this organization. So I want to say that off the top. No, no, straight no chaser.
Thank you so much. I am super honored. I'm grateful. And you're such a brilliant mind. I've known you for many, many, many
Too
years.
long. Oh gosh, don't
Shout
remind me.
out to you and Neville Peters, and I've known you for so long. And then of course, acquainting with you again at Metro Church, and so it's been a long time. It's been almost 20 years,
Isn't that crazy how many
we've known.
connections? Isn't that crazy how many connections I didn't even catch? Of course, Metro, of course, Martha, of course, Neville. And it's like, and then you just drew in a line. I'm like, oh my gosh, God really did bring our paths together in so many different ways. And now to see your success. And so I don't want to make this we can make this a celebratory party of us talking about each other, but let's not do this. We have listeners and we have watchers. So if they are watching for the first time and listening for the first time, can you give them, I know they should know who you are, but just give them the 30-second elevator pitch just in case this is their first time meeting Ashaala Shanae. Tell them what you do and what you're all about.
Sure. So my name is Ashaala Shanae. I am a celebrity vocal health expert and performance pedagogy coach. I help high performing speakers and singers learn to use their God given voice to monetize, maximize, and scale, and even to six figures. I teach high performance speakers and singers how to ensure the voice, secure the bag, ensure the gig. And then I also teach speakers and singers how to use their voice and make it a six-figure digital asset. I'm also a creative entrepreneurship mentor. So I work with creatives and teach creatives as well how to use their creative skills and talents and any kind of entrepreneurial endeavors to scale into the digital space and ultimately create financial stability, get their time back, and just live the life and be able to be more creative because they don't have to spend so much time working so hard. They work smarter. Yeah, so that's that in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, and people wonder why did you make her episode like numero uno in the pantheon of the podcasts I've done after almost 200 podcasts, and that's like the number one. I still go over the lessons you taught in that episode, but we gotta
Yeah,
move on to this episode. So let me ask you this, and this is one of the things I really was thinking about as we were coming back together to talk.
yeah.
Since that interview, November 2020, that was when it was November 2020.
Wow.
Just think about what has changed. I mean, we were in the midst of COVID, and then personally, I remember you were going through a lot of stuff. You were pushing, God was pulling you through some major events in your life. So my first question to you, and try to, I know it's going to be tough to like put this in one answer. What has changed for you in the last 2 years?
Oh my gosh. In the last 2 years, what has changed? My perspective on life. I realized that, sometimes when we say things like, God, I thank you for life, health, and strength, it's just been words, but literally, I thank God for life, health, and strength, they are three premium assets that sometimes we take for granted. And so life, health, and strength are really investments that we need to make more. And I think what I've done is learn how to invest more into the equity of life, health, and strength. Also too, my business has shifted. I've pivoted in a lot of ways. I've, really scaled more into the digital world. And so that's been a big pivot for me. I actually shut down my actual brick and mortar institute in the past 2 years. I got my time back where I was working 40 hours, in a week. Now I work just 6 to 10 hours in a week, learning how to make a lot of money in a little bit of time versus a little bit of money over a long period of time. And I've just done a lot more professional development, therapy continually, and personal development as well. And so there's a couple things that have shifted. Mhm.
Just a couple, but I love the first one that you mentioned about really pushing through life, health, and strength and looking at what God was providing for you as you did both. And here's one of the big ones for creators, and I know you know this better than anyone. The balance, well, what we call work life balance. I don't like to call it balance, right? But the balance between knowing that God's going to grow you in your business, in your creative life, but He also grows you internally in your character so that you can
Yes,
sustain whatever it is that He's building. And so I love the fact that you never leave that out. I want to jump into the marketing and how you protect your voice and how you created this digital asset in terms of your business and in terms of how you help people protect it. But I
yeah,
love the fact that you went first to your spiritual health, your mental health. That is a huge part before we can talk about all the success, because what would happen to you, just for use your example, if you had all this success but you didn't have the capacity to enjoy it.
absolutely. And the thing about it is that, there are two things that you just talked about. You talked about capacity, and I partner that with capability because sometimes we are capable but don't have the capacity, right?
Mm.
And I think one of the things that I also had to learn, just kind of backing off of the question that you had or caveat, is I had to learn how to create healthy boundaries with myself, with others, with my bad habits, right? Because I used to be a workaholic and now I say I'm a reformed workaholic, right? I had to create boundaries with imposter syndrome, negative thinking, all of those things I had to create boundaries for. And I realized, wait a minute, even though I may have the capability to, be there for people or, teach people, if I don't have the capacity, the mental and emotional capacity, then what I do, and especially when it comes to character, anything charisma without character is like witchcraft, right?
Ooh.
And so we have to be so careful that we don't allow our capabilities, which may provide being charismatic, to lack because of the fact that we don't have the capacity in character to sustain those things, right? And so, absolutely, I've had to learn how to balance capability and capacity.
Love it. And again,
Not
this,
because I can mean I should.
but you should, and but it makes it possible, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I think of so
yeah,
many times where Jesus was doing so much, right? I just immediately went to biblically, where Jesus is feeding 5,000, is doing, and then the very next word is, "Come, let us rest a while. Let's come apart. Let's." And so even Jesus knew that with literally the power of God behind him and inside him, he
yeah,
needed to make sure that he, like you said, the capacity to do all these things didn't mean he had to do all the things. And it's amazing that us as creators and entrepreneurs, we have to remember that. So let's talk about some of the things that you're doing, though. I mean, again, you're coming from us, literally recording. I'll let the people behind the scenes a little bit. You're recording from an event. You came in, you made it work, you balanced two things and got the schedule together
yeah,
to still do this. So you're showing the epitome of the hustle and kind of balancing and juggling, right? But I mean, we've added in the last few years, as you mentioned. I believe you already were an author before this last book, the ebook, came out. But this is the
yeah,
one where I saw it. I was like, oh, yes, she's writing. She's an author now, on top of being a musician, a singer, a background singer, a coach, so many other things that you carry. But then you added author. So tell me a little bit about why you decided at this point to
yeah,
come back to the
yeah,
writing, to the vocal blueprint, I believe it is, and what you're trying to share in that
yes.
book.
Yeah, so, I have so many people that hit me up in the DMs or email me and say, what should I do to care for my voice? What should I do here? What should I do there? And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to take all of the things that I've learned in the past 20 years of this industry as a professional coach, and I wanted to provide a condensed version of the 7 voice care secrets that every high performing speaker and singer should know, right, to ensure the gig and secure the bag. But not only that, the reason why I've reverted and have gone to creating more digital products such as ebooks and stuff like that, and even, hardback copies as well, was because I wanted to be able to create recession proof money. And so as a result of that, going into the digital space, allowing my intellectual property to be put on a piece of paper where I can either white label it or I can sell it, I can do whatever I want with it. It allows me to reach a capacity of people that me myself wouldn't ever be able to do one-on-one with people, right? And so it was really a smart move to make, to do that ebook, because from that ebook came courses and masterminds and mentorships and so many other things, right, that are out there. But I wanted to be able to equip speakers and singers with a blueprint that they can have to understand that it's not just about warm-ups, right? It's not just about what you should drink or what you should eat. All those things are great, but there's so many other things that you need to take into consideration when it comes to preserving your vocal real estate. It's an asset, right? It's a wealth generating asset, equity building asset.
There's the word,
And so,
the key word that you just put, and that's the one I know you could dig into this
yeah,
for hours, and I want them to all to go to your courses and get into it. But can you quickly give them the synopsis of why the voice is real estate? That asset, the words asset and real estate,
absolutely.
that is the key. Again, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I missed it, but I don't
Yeah,
remember hearing those words. And clearly, there's been a shift where you have made it very clear that your specialty is protecting this as an asset. I'm a podcaster. I don't sing, right? But I speak. I remember you getting on me even after our interview. We were talking about this, like, hey, you use your voice all the time. So tell
yeah.
the novice, the person that has no idea that this is even something that they should think of because they're not a singer, right? Tell them
Yeah,
why you think this is so important to treat your voice as an asset.
absolutely. Well, let's talk about podcasting. Podcasting is on the rise right now. We have so many people that are starting podcasts. And so I know one of the top podcasters right now, especially in the world of business and in the world of entrepreneurship, has made about $9 million from one episode. All
Mm.
right, 9 million. So if we were to calculate just how you make money as a podcaster, it can be through advertising, it could be through, people trying to get spots on your podcast, or paying to get on your podcast, or however that may be, right? Think about the amount of money it would cost you if you woke up and could no longer use your voice for your podcast. You would not get to 186 or 183 episodes without your voice. And so the human voice is probably one of the most used and overused apparatuses and mechanisms that we have in the human body, to especially for communication. Not only that, the human voice actually builds sales psychology, trustworthiness in sales psychology. I can literally talk to you about anything, and based on the inflections of my voice and the tone of my voice, it actually can trigger some things psychologically that allows you to trust me in order to make a wise decision, to make, let's say, a high ticket or a premium purchase, right? And so at the end of the day, people never take in consideration, outside of, yes, I speak as a speaker. Yes, I sing as a singer. But when we think about YouTubers, sports commentators, right? Radio personalities, video personalities, people that do audiobooks, voiceovers, actors, actresses. Name if you everything that you see, even the conference that I'm at right now, all you hear are voices. All you hear are voices. And if we were to math it, you'll be surprised that you can lose a lot of money from losing your voice, and a lot of business loss opportunities because of it. So, when I start to work with the high performing speakers who literally get paid 50, $60,000 to come on stage for 35 minutes to 40 minutes, right? What we learn in this space is that amateurs make money on the front end, but experts make money on the back end. So what that means is that if I was doing a conference today, and I had about 200 women coming out to this conference to hear me speak, right? On, let's say, on women empowerment and on women in business. And let's say I charge $1,000 for 200 women to come into the room. That's $200,000 on the front end. But on the back end, for me, let's say I wanted to, tell these women about my mentorship program, and my mentorship program costs $20,000 for the year, and I have about 10 women sign up for that mentorship program. That's a whole nother $200,000 on the back end. So I have the potential to make, on the front end, I've already made 200,000, but on the back end, I can make an additional 200,000. And when you calculate that, you realize how much of an asset your voice really is, that if you do not take care of it and you mismanage it, it'll end up costing you in the long run.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's try to break that down for those who just they're just absorbing. Thank God for podcasting that they can rewind, right? So
Yeah.
let me bring that to where I am, even in terms of, because I like to represent. Number one, it's like free coaching for me. Podcasting is the number one way. Trust me, that I get so much information and knowledge just from myself, selfishly,
Yeah.
because I get to talk to
Yeah.
amazing people. And you just said it, the voice and what they share and what I share is incalculable. I'm like, how can you really
Yeah.
put a podcast or like you said, a speaking engagement? How many ripples could that be on the back end of somebody that tells somebody else about you? And then, oh, I saw this person speak. And then they tell somebody else. And then there's both the money and the prestige and the authority. That's a key word I think that I think you mentioned. The authority that you build in your voice when you learn to speak and communicate with people,
Yeah.
that goes beyond just, well, I'm trying to sell something. Nope.
Yeah.
People understand and trust you more because
Yeah.
your voice is, it's a part of you. And I
It's your
love the,
brand.
yeah, your voice is
It's
your
your
brand.
brand.
Exactly. So tell me
And not
how,
only
go ahead.
that, let me go on to say this. Do you have voice insurance?
Do I have voice insurance? Oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh. No, I do not.
Right. The average podcaster doesn't. And so the thing about it is that, let's say you on your way to doing a major God and Gigs podcast with, let's say, a a Magic Johnson, or somebody you're getting ready to interview that can potentially change the trajectory of your podcast, right? Imagine if you're on your way to meet someone to do a podcast and you get into an accident, right? Or imagine if you fly to another country to really meet with a top tier person to interview them for your podcast, and you get mold toxicity inside of the hotel room, right? And let's say you show up and you don't have a voice to do that podcast. Right now, one of the reasons why your voice is an asset is because, just like how life insurance is an asset,
Right.
right? Voice insurance is an asset because it says, what's the potential of Alan losing money on the front end? Plus, what will happen if Alan could no longer do a podcast because of the damage of speech or hearing or his voice? What then can he be offered in the case of business loss opportunities if he can no longer speak for a year or 2 years until he rehabilitates his voice? And so people never think about how the voice, outside of just utilization, when it comes to insuring the voice for a contingency plan, a lot of people don't realize that it really is a wealth generating asset for you. And
Okay.
so, if J Lo can insure her butt, and Tina Turner can insure her legs, and most of these NFL players and NBA players insure their body parts, like
Yeah.
their hands and their legs.
Yeah.
If gamers and engineers insure their brain and their mind for the intellectual property and for them to think, if people, eye doctors insure their eyes or whatever, why aren't we, who are vocal athletes, why aren't we insuring our voice?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, you're doing more mind blowing stuff today. I have heard though. My wife has been on me about my hands as a pianist, right? She
Yes.
has mentioned that before, and I always go, oh no. And I think here's the thing, Sheila. I think maybe will help some people because I think this is one of those things where it is higher level thinking, right? It's thinking
Yeah.
beyond just what's in front of you. You just
Yeah.
mentioned that amateurs make money on the front end, and then the people who are pros make money on the back end because they
Yes.
see beyond what's right in front of them. One of the things I know as creators, business people, well, mostly creators. Let's just talk about the artists, right? The artists are the ones that usually miss this,
Yes.
right? The business people know they have to think beyond what's right in front of them, the money that's right in front of them, the business plan that's right in front of them. They have to think, okay, how does this affect me over the legacy of my business or
Yeah.
brand or my creative life? So, what I think what you're saying is you have to see beyond just what you have in front of you, what you think is important
Yeah.
versus what really is important. And I think what it sounds like you've built over at the M.A.H.I Institute, stepping away from brick and mortar, is
Yeah.
looking more to the future. So let me ask you this: like,
Oh,
what
yes.
what is the future? Did you envision this, number one? And number two, what do you see forward for your career? What is the future legacy that
Yeah.
you do want to build with your brand, with your voice,
Yeah.
and what you're sharing?
Yeah. I want my voice to outlive me. I want my voice to outlive me. I want my voice to be heard on stages. I want my voice to be heard on podcasts. I want my voice to be heard on, through the help of ebooks and webinars and courses. I want to, my voice can literally pass down through generations. Right. I'm right now even trying to see how I can how I can really turn my voice into a whole nother. I mean, I'm on a whole nother level right now. I can't share that right now because I'm gonna have to make you sign an NDA if I share it, right? But
Okay,
there's
well,
something that I'm doing
shh,
right now
we'll
to
save it.
definitely leave a legacy for my voice. But I want my voice to outlive me, just like how you should let your voice outlive you. These podcasts will outlive you. These podcasts can literally start to generate income because of your voice for your children and your children's children. And so for me, what the future looks like for me is to scale more into the digital market, definitely dominate when it comes to vocal health, but also to introducing the more of the entrepreneurial aspect and the digital space of voice science, as well as vocal health and pedagogy and performance pedagogy. And then I also want to be able to travel the world and do clinics and masterminds. Right, that's what the future looks like for me. I definitely want to do a TED talk. I will do a TED talk. I definitely will be one of the first, if not the first, vocal coach or a vocal health expert in Forbes. All right. There's some plans that I have. And hopefully the plans that I have align with the master's plan and he'll allow it. Right. But yeah,
Yeah.
I want my voice to outlive me. I want my voice to be here even when I'm gone.
That's beautiful. And you're so right that what we say, what we share in this life really is for the next. Again, that doesn't, I mean, I just think of so many verses and so many ideas in the Bible where it's all about the children's children, a thousand
Yeah.
generations. And it's
Yeah.
always these words that I give to you, right? The words we speak, the songs we sing
Yeah.
absolutely outlive us. And I love the fact that, again, and I'm very careful about this. I think you see, even as I talk, I'm always walking a tightrope between the abundance that we should be walking in, the money and the fame and all the fortune that we think is important, but God gives it to us as a tool so
Yes.
that we can use it. So I'm always like,
Absolutely.
I hope no one, they should go back and listen to the first episode again to hear about the heart that you don't have this heart of just trying to gain notoriety or
No.
fame for yourself, but these are things that will help generations past us, the people that we could bless with our assets, with our money, and with the things we gain from being creatives, so that we're never again looking at just today. Like I'm the
Yeah.
same way. My children are now in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
God,
Wow.
as soon as I say it, I'm like
I can't
upset with
believe
myself.
that.
Yeah, so I don't believe it either. I don't want to talk about it, but me looking at why did I name my business Paul Creative Services on the back end of it. It's because I want my name to outlive me. So what they don't have
Yeah.
to become podcasters. They don't have to become musicians. They're gifted creatives, all of them, but they don't have to do this. But there will be something in their name. I saw somebody talk about this earlier about Ford is a last name.
Yes.
Hyatt is a last name. Hilton is a last name. We think these are
Yes.
brands. McDonald's,
Yeah.
these are last names of people. These are actual
Yes.
families that built legacy. And so I don't know how we
Yeah.
got into this tag, but I really do feel it now. It's like this is what you're saying because when you said real estate and brand and asset, that's where my
Yeah.
mind went. It's about
Yeah.
us as creatives creating something that's bigger than us. And again, it doesn't
Yeah.
go to just us. It's about him and what he can do to expand his kingdom through us.
Absolutely. Because we don't serve a poverty God. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. For those of us that may be listening on this podcast today, both myself and you, Alan, we are believers. And we also believe, that beyond here, that there is another, life that God wants to provide for us. And so we understand that when we do go to heaven, that we will have a robe and a crown
It's
and
it's
land
it's
of
it's
milk and
look
honey and streets
it
of
is
gold.
lit.
And
It
here's
is
the
lit
best
in
thing.
heaven. It is lit,
Yeah,
right? It is like it
yeah.
is posh. It is abundant. Like I've heard people
It's
preach about the fact.
emeralds and
Yeah, but there
rubies
was gold
and
in Eden though.
gold. I
I like
mean,
all that. Like God has no issue with us having that kind of stuff. But again, I think I love the fact it comes
absolutely.
around to that we started with character. We
Yeah,
started with that, the life balance and knowing who you are, and then
yeah,
building the business and building the brand based on your voice, based on what you're teaching, on how to
yeah,
treat it like an asset, not treating it like I do, unfortunately, oftentimes, which is just like, oh, I get up and I turn the mic on, and then I go. and not realizing that, hey, I need to take care of what God has given me. It's an
Absolutely.
asset and something that I absolutely should take care of. So my question to you is this, and I know you got to go, so I want to give you back your time, but I wonder if you had to talk to the person who maybe is right on the edge. They're like, okay, Shayla, I've heard you share about my voice is my brand. I've heard you
Yeah.
say real estate. But there's
Yeah.
that one little thing of doubt where they're like, wait, is this really worth it? What would you say to the person to say if they are teetering on the edge of buying your course, right? They're teetering on the edge
Yeah.
of like treating themselves more like an artist with legacy. Like, what would you say to that one person to kind of push them over the edge of that fear of actually taking this stuff seriously and really pushing forward as a creative?
Well, I would say to them, it's important for them to understand that in order to even level up, even in vocal wealth, right? Let's talk about vocal wealth. In order for you to attain vocal wealth, you have to understand that wealth, whatever wealth is spiritual, right? So when you are operating in vocal wealth, you have to be able to operate in vocal wisdom. Wealth and wisdom go hand in hand. But what happens is, and if you don't mind me to just break this down really quickly, I
Sure.
taught this the other day to a bunch of creatives. The reason why a lot of people don't get to where they really would like to get to is the fact that they really aren't truly operating in wisdom. And so, how do you know what wisdom is? There are a couple of prerequisites to that, right? So there is a gentleman by the name of Myron Golden who teaches on this, and he says, well, the first thing that you learn is ignorance. Ignorance is the absence of truth, right? And then after ignorance is knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of truth. That's where, a lot of people come to me and say, oh, well, Shayla, I watch your YouTube, I watch your Instagram, I watch that stuff. That's great. You're gaining and you're accumulating knowledge, but that still is not operating in wisdom, right? Then the next tier under that is the assimilation of truth, which is understanding. There's a lot of people that have gathered information from your podcast, gathered information from reading my book, gathered information from my IG and from my websites and from my courses, but they have not learned the how to do it. They have not assimilated it or understood it. But what gets a person and pushes them over to the end of actually doing is wisdom. And wisdom is the application of truth. And so, what I would say to someone that's saying, yeah, I watch, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, then you're not operating in true wealth and true vocal wealth because you're not operating in true wisdom. Why? Because wisdom requires doing. And so at the end of the day, how long are you going to stay on the wheel of knowledge and understanding, but no application of anything? Right. And lots of people say, well, yeah, I'm singing in church. Yeah, but you're not singing to the highest version of where God needs you to be. You're not singing at the highest level of competency and you're not applying the highest level of competency. Why? Because there's one thing about learning about something. You learn about speaking and singing, but you learn how to do it so you can do it, right? Most people stop at just the middle part. I gather it. I know about singing and speaking. As Shayla talks about it. I'm learning how to. You breathe in, you breathe out, but no one ever applies it. No one ever does it. And so for me, my question is, well, it's costing you more not doing it than it is, it's costing you a lot more not to do it. Right. So how much is it worth for you again to waste time, not doing all of the things that you have gathered in information and gathered in knowledge, but you're still not applying it.
Well,
It's not me, it's you.
yeah.
It's not
No.
me, it's you.
Hey, we have to be honest and be. I love how you put really truthful. And by the way, Myron Golden. Oh, see, just I know we're in the same place because that is the thing I was referencing was from one of his lessons about the Golden Eden. That's one of the ones that I was like, he just breaks it down. So more people that you should be reading, following, that we're mentioning, but most importantly, what you just mentioned, doing what they say, right? Hearers and
You got to
doers of the
do it.
word. That's the number one thing. The verse popped in my head. Be ye not hearers, but doers. And it's not just the words that we're talking about here. It's the words that everything that you have in your hand that you already know. If you're not acting on it, it's like the Bible says, you just turn around and like forgot what it was.
Yeah.
It's
It's the
like it.
balance. Yeah. It's the balance of mindset and skill set.
Yeah,
Mindset is who we are human beings. That's mindset. But skill set is human doings, right?
yeah.
So lots of times what happens is, and this is what happened with the pandemic, Alan, is that a lot of people were just human doings. They had the skill set, but they didn't know how to be.
Mm.
So when the pandemic came and stripped them from being a human doing, they really discovered they really didn't know who they were, who they be, right?
Neither
And
be.
so one of
Yep.
the things that we have to be able to do is not just about, oh, teach me the skill, right? But you have to learn mindset and skill set. The reason why a lot of people, I don't need to push anybody over the edge, because if they really understand who they be, then they'll just do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because understanding who you be requires constant investing, requires constant elevation, right? It requires constant leveling up. So at the end of the day, when we understand that we are called to be spiritual beings, we are constantly elevating. No one has to push someone that already understands that. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
They
I
just,
understand. I
like, no
hope.
one has to push you to get knowledge and understanding and to learn what it is to level up as a husband and a father and a businessman. You're constantly learning how to elevate. So no one needs to push you to go buy Myron Golden's book. You see what I'm saying? Or his course.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that I've always struggled with is this idea that, oh, well, if I just hand them one more thing, we've had this discussion with a lot of podcasts on with entrepreneurs about, well, the freebie, right? All this whole thing about, well, I should make my, I love what, I forgot what her name, I think it's Teresa Hawk. I was thinking about introducing you to her. I've been following her. Teresa Hawk said something that you cannot afford to be cheap. You
You
don't
can't.
have the capacity because you're not, and she put that on her IG, and that blew my mind because it hit me
You
too.
can't.
Because you're always thinking, oh, well, let me make myself a little bit less expensive to help the people that are next to me. And yet you
Nope.
don't have the abundance either in mindset or in skill set or in assets to even offer them anything because you are struggling yourself. And that mindset thing
Yeah.
is so huge.
Let me tell you something. Like, we are spiritual beings, and because we're spiritual beings, we already are at a level of high value. The
Mm-hmm.
thing about it is that the enemy has tricked us to always believe that we're on a lower level. So you are Maserati, Alan, already. But what happens is the enemy keeps tricking us to go back down to, like I talked about, ignorance, the absence of truth. Because if you forget who you are and whose you are, you will always be going back down to a low level of value when you already have been made a high level, high performing, high energy, high inspiration, spiritual being, because of just how God is. God is who He is. Therefore, we are not inferior because He's not inferior.
Right.
But as a result of that, what happens is a fact that, I'll say this: you'll never be able to charge what you're fully worth if you've never been able to actually pay that amount. So if you want to charge $10,000 for a consultation on something, until you learn to invest $10,000 into yourself, you'll never be able to charge it, ever, ever. And so for the person that wants to buy the book and everything like that, you'll always stay in that area where you think that people are not, taking you seriously, they're not valuing you, because you have not yet been able to invest in the high premium value of who you already are.
Mm-hmm.
So don't no come up, come
Yeah,
up.
that's
You'll
look
see
that
it's different from up here.
that is different. It's different from up here. I love it. You're soaring with the Eagles. I think right when you said that is where I think a lot of people again. It doesn't mean they need to be pushed, but it means that this was the seed, right? This was the reminder of
Yeah,
what they're about to
yeah,
do. That yes, you're on the right path. Yes, it's worth it to invest. Yes, your voice is an asset. Yes, it's time to get
yeah,
into the high level mastermind. Yes, it's time like me to go ahead and jump back into that course, jump back into those high level coaching sessions, because like you said, when the time we're wasting thinking about it and spinning our wheels is time that we're just never going to get back. Time is the ultimate asset that we all
it's
have,
a
and we don't
limited
know,
resource.
and we don't know how much we have. We never know how much we will be given. So Shayla, this is every
Absolutely.
time we talk. I want to just talk forever, but again, you are at an event. I want to make sure that I'm respectful of your time. And the fact is that people can only get so much out of these podcasts. They have to follow you. They have to get your assets and your teachings and coaching in order to really get the full impact of what you just shared in just 30, 45 minutes of amazing discussion. So please tell them, how can they find you on social? How can they connect with you? And how can you continue to serve them?
Absolutely. So you can go to www.ashaalashanae.live. ASHAALA. You see my name there, SHANAE.live. And when you go to AshalaShanae.live, you will get a chance to see all the amazing value, all the amazing benefits that I have to offer in regards to taking, especially those that want to level up their voice and want to get to the next level as far as, reducing vocal insecurities, vocal anxiety, overcoming stage fright, things about, understanding how to care for the voice, maintain the voice, monetize the voice. I teach you all those things when you go to AshalaShanae.live. Not only that, you get a chance to be a part of my Voice Masters Academy community, online community where you meet like-minded people as well, and also to you get a chance to even be mentored by me as well. And so all that information is there at AshalaShanae.live, and then you can follow me on Instagram at Ashaala Shanae. You can also follow me on Facebook at Ashaala Shanae, and definitely TikTok at Ashaala Shanae. Everything's Ashaala Shanae. All right, so you can find me very easily. You can't miss me.
She's everywhere you want to be. And again, I want to thank you again for giving of your time so graciously. Again, I
Thank you for
realize that
having
these
me.
these moments, these minutes, these really the words again. You just talked about the words are life. They're life giving for entrepreneurs. They're life giving for people like me that are still continuing to level up, and families that will be impacted by what you're sharing. So thank you once again, Sheila. You are again like my cousin, my sister from another mother. Just love everything you're sharing, and I will continue to be your number one fan and continue to share in God and Gigs because we want to impact this
Thank you
community for
so
you.
much, Alan, and blessings to you and your family. And of course, I always pray a blessing of expansion. I pray that God blows your mind in these last couple months of 2022, and that He even elevates you even more with this podcast in 2023, even greater interviewees and just everything that you've set your heart to do, that you understand that it's already in place, the provision has already been made for the vision, and just go for it.
Thank you, my friend. I receive it, and God bless you. Until next time, until number 3, we just got to get ready for it.
Bye.